It is Monday, October 28th, 2024. This is another edition of Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL. I am Chris Rose, joined as always by my compadres, Bobby Skinner, Justin Penik. They'll be watching Monday night's game between the Giants and Steelers very closely, but what a wild week 8 we had. Dudes, it was all over the place, particularly those early games. The last 15 minutes of that, I could just imagine my buddy Scott Henson going nuts on the Red Zone channel. Either of you watch him?
I put it on the second channel, so I actually can't hear him. But I like to focus on one game and then have Red Zone on the second TV. So I'm not dialed into Scott Hanson's commentary, but this was like the first. Like, man, we're really getting into the grittiness of the NFL season week. And I don't know if it was because I was watching it with family or something, but it was just everyone watching that Commanders-Bears game. It's starting to get darker a little earlier. Daylight savings will hit us next week. And it's like, all right, like we're figuring out which matchups mean something and which ones don't.
Yep. Well, let's get to it. That Commanders-Bears game, it's time for our La Vida Más Fina game of the week. It is brought to you by Corona. And yes, Washington comes back and wins on a last-second Hail Mary, 18-15 over the Chicago Bears. And so I actually start off with a trivia question, gentlemen. Jaden Daniels threw the second longest Hail Mary by a rookie to win a game. Which quarterback has thrown the longest? And it has happened in the last 25 years.
Ooh.
Happened in the last 25 years, so that means it's closer to 20 years ago.
Did Cam do it?
He did not.
Okay.
Does anybody see what's over my shoulder?
Oh,
Tim Couch, my boy, Tim Couch. How about that?
Tim Couch, a 56-yarder to give the new expansion Cleveland Browns their first ever win down in New Orleans. They beat the Saints last second, ball tip to Kevin Johnson. They ended up winning it. But this isn't a Browns.
I knew that was a new weird addition to your background.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Were you a Tim Couch guy or a Kelly Holcomb guy?
Well, come on. Kelly Holcomb almost beat the Steelers in a playoff game. He threw for almost 400 yards. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this crazy play with Jaden Daniels. Are more people going to look back at this game and say, God dang it, did the Bears coaching staff screw this stuff up, Bobby? Or are you almost like, hey, Jaden Daniels is special, and that was just the icing on the cake?
Well, I think a Hail Mary is not going to be the reason why we talk about how good Jaden Daniels has been, this year. Like, there's so many other numbers. Like, every third down, I'm just expecting him to make something happen. But I think we will be talking about the Bears because it is a little bit of, like, same old Bears. The Tyreek Stevenson play, if everyone hasn't seen it, where he's talking trash to the Commanders fans mid-play and then has to run in. He was the one who was supposed to be in man coverage trailing Noah Brown to box him out. And then he's the one who tips the ball up to Noah Brown. Like, I love me some Tyreek Stevenson. But that's what he's going to be remembered by unless he becomes an all-pro corner. Like, that's the type of stuff you can't come back from. And he gave up a big play to Terry McLaurin earlier in the game, and unnecessary roughness. So, like, I will remember this game as the Bears throwing it away. From handing the ball off to the offensive lineman on 4th and 1 to that play. I will remember this as the Bears just throwing away an opportunity to be 5-2.
Yeah, Rose, your guy MJD basically just said shit happens, and I love MJD. He's NFL pro. You guys said for 9 years, so I gotta disagree with him though. That Tyreek, you can't have, if you're Tyreek Stevenson, you cannot have that happen, especially when you're the one that tips the ball. That's a really, really bad look.
It's a horrible look. Well, that's what I told him, was that the optics were horrible. And that's why I wanted the opinion of a guy in the locker room. I said, do you even go say shit to him? And he said, no, you just let it be. Because, he did come out and on social media posted that I screwed up. He raised his hand and said, I screwed up. I'm sure the next time that they'll have cameras in the locker room on Wednesday, he'll say the same exact thing and own up to it and hopefully become a better player. But yeah, it's a terrible look. I also think that this is not the coaching staff that's going to be coaching Caleb Williams moving forward. Wow. I honestly believe it. I know Shane Waldron has done some nice things with him his first 7 games. The first 3 quarters of Sunday's game were an unmitigated disaster by Caleb Williams, but he put essentially 2 really good scoring drives together in the last 15 minutes of the game and had that thing won. He had that thing won. So that's the good news. The bad news is I just really feel like this is not the coaching staff for him moving forward.
No, and specifically Shane Waldron, but it's just you're not going to let Matt Eberflus fire an offensive coordinator 2 years in a row. And I think Matt Eberflus is a damn good defensive coordinator. That defense is playing really well. But at the same time, I do think he gets through this year because I think this team goes 8-9, 9-8, and I don't see them firing Eberflus after this type of year. But Shane Waldron, dude, I'm done with him. We talked about like Caleb doing some nice things over the last 3 weeks coming into it. But we've talked about it. It's like Caleb has to play like big boy Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady level of football for that offense to be successful. Now he's messed it up too with his lack of ability to hit a deep throw. But everything's so tough, there's no easy buttons. And then when you do have those opportunities, handing the ball off to an offensive lineman on 4th and 1.
That was third down.
On third down. Even before I even saw that he fumbled the ball, let alone fumble it, didn't even get the take the handoff. I was like, you got to be kidding me! Are you serious? What makes you think that this is the best opportunity? It'd be one thing if you put this play on film 30 times and you saw that they just don't even pay attention to him and they're trying to get around him. But still, even then, that's unacceptable. There's a 4th and 1 earlier in the game, in their own opponent, their own territory. They can, instead of running it, they throw a little smoke to DJ Moore. They stop that. That leads to 3 easy points for the Commanders. They ran back-to-back QB draws before the pass interference that got them down, on the what would have been the game-winning touchdown. Shane Waldron to me is a bad offensive coordinator, and I just don't think he gives them any advantage. Instead, it's just Caleb. You got to play big boy football every down. There's nothing that looks easy on that Bears offense.
All right, we got 1 minute left here. Penik, Washington. Biggest surprise story of the NFL 8 weeks in?
Yes, without a doubt. I'm not shocked that Jaden Daniels is playing well, but I mean nobody could have seen or predicted this well. They're putting up historical efficiency offensive numbers right now, and Jaden Daniels is having, especially from an efficiency standpoint, completion percentage standpoint, he's been having one of the best rookie seasons that we've ever seen as of right now, and especially with that line. And I don't know how that defense is sustaining itself so much. I think that's probably a bigger surprise, is that defense that was so devoid of talent. Stan Quinn's coaching. Saw it with Dallas there a couple years. Falcons fans are probably saying to themselves, where was this defensive coaching for us? But
they haven't let the bad teams beat them on defense. The good the good offenses they play, the Bengals, Ravens, and Bucks have scored 30 plus, but they haven't let the bad ones. But also, Jaden Daniels' rushing ability to me is every third down, I'm expecting him to make a play. And I wanted to ask you this question, Rose. Do you think Jaden Daniels is closer to Lamar as a rushing QB or the third best rushing QB in the NFL? Because I think he's closer to Lamar than the field.
He is closer to Lamar, but if you go back and you remember, Lamar really didn't start until week 10, week 11 of his rookie year, right? Joe Flacco was still the guy in charge. He was very, very elementary in his development at that point.
Oh, he was awful. He was awful.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels is way past him. And I cannot wait to see what he's got when he's 2 to 3, 3 years into this thing. He is playing exceptional football. He's making reads. He's throwing the ball accurately. He's not turning it over. They're a fun team to watch, man. And we'll discuss in a little bit about, who's going to give Detroit the best run for their money in the NFC, and we'll see whether or not we put Washington in that. But we're going to put this one to bed right now. And I just want to tell you a little bit more about my friends at Corona Extra, because the game of the week was brought to you by Corona. You know what? We always try and be a fan that never loses. So here's what we mean, right? You got a Browns fan, you got a pair of Giants fans. We don't win every single week. In fact, we rarely do. So even when we lose, we still love the game. We've got the passion. We still love football, because whether it's a deep ball or a 3rd and short conversion or handing it off to a fat guy on 3rd and goal, there's always something to cheer for. And the best beer to pair with awesome moments, Corona. Corona's all about finding the maximum amount of joy with every moment of the game. Win or lose, at home or on the road, it's the perfect beer to go along with watching football and the moments that all come with it. So cheers to everybody who loves the game beyond the scoreboard. Corona for the fan who never loses. Get yours at ordercorona.com. It's for 21 and over. Relax responsibly. Corona Extra Beer, imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois, which I'm sure is a blast today after the Bears had one taken away from them. But it's more fun than living in New York if you're a Jets fan these days. The Jets fall to 2-6 as they cannot stop Jacoby Brissett and the New England Patriots from moving down the length of the field with 2 minutes to go. Patriots 25, Jets 22. Penik, is it over for your beloved Jets, whom, if I remember correctly, in the preseason, you were like, this team's got a shot at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I said they were going to win 12 games and go on to the AFC Championship. That was my preseason. And you know what? Shame on me. Shame on me, because last year, I wasn't on this show with you guys, but last year, I was the complete opposite on the Jets. I'm like, this is a disaster. Rodgers is just an a-hole. It's just going to crash and burn. And I fell for the offseason that they had. I'm like, oh, damn, this offseason on paper, it was just too good. They did everything that they kind of needed to do. And then also knowing that they were going to eventually trade for Devontae Adams, knowing that was going to happen. Shame on me, because this organization, they have the same record as the Patriots. If the Giants lose tonight, they have the same record as the Giants. How do we see the Patriots? How do we see the Giants? See those franchises as dumpster fires, right? Shame on me for getting on board, because this is who the Jets are. I can't believe all 3 timeouts in the first half they blew for the same exact reason,
quarter,
by the way. For almost it was early in the game. It was early in the game, and it was all for the same reason. Like 2 of them, I think, were on the same drive, and it almost felt like back to back from each other. This is not a well-coached team. They put more responsibility on Jeff Ulbricht's plate. They said, okay, now you're gonna run the defense and you're gonna be the head coach. So shouldn't surprise anybody. But lo and behold, it is surprising me.
Yeah, they panicked. They panicked after the Vikings game, and it screwed them. Because I think with Robert Saleh, we're talking a little bit differently about the New York Jets at this point. Let's look at these splits. With Robert Saleh, they were on defense. They were fourth in points per game, 17 points per game, 6 in EPA per play. Without Saleh, they are 28 points per game allowed, 31st, 24th in EPA per play. And you could say, oh, well, what were the opponents? What were the opponents they faced? Oh, how about the Patriots and the Steelers, who scored season highs? Both bottom 12 offenses who had season highs on you. It's a dysfunctional mess. Like that. This is what it is. Why would you fire Robert Saleh, who's been the good, and then again put more plate on Jeff Ulbrich? He's not a good head coach right now. So now he has to, have this defense win games like they did last year for them, and also be the head coach. It hasn't, like, they've had 201 penalties since firing Saleh. Not even some of the 5-yard ones have been major ones where they're trying to go for them 4th down and they can't because of a delay of game.
No.
So they just make mistake after mistake. Not getting rid of Zerloin. I mean, despite all this mess that is the New York Jets, they'd be 5-3 with a good kicker. Like, they've literally lost 3 games because of their kicker. So they panicked and fired Robert Saleh. And here's the other thing. Like, they don't even know how to fire a coach in season. Like, you don't upgrade the defensive coordinator who's doing a really good job. You have the special teams coordinator, the tight end coach, and you give them that responsibility and let them make changes. But instead, they still commit a ton of penalties. Their defense has gotten worse. And is this the first time ever an offensive coordinator is not calling plays for a position coach? Like, that's a fucked up dynamic in there. It's like you can't fire Nate Hack officially because Aaron Rodgers, but you take away play calling from him. Like, has there ever been a QB coach who's calling plays for over half the season with the offensive coordinator still there?
And also, let the record show, I think Drake May, if he doesn't get concussed, I think the Patriots win that game, and they don't win it on the last second. They don't win it by needing a game-winning drive. I think they win that game by, 10 plus. That was the direction of the game, because Drake May was playing awesome football.
Okay. People are going to say, well, this isn't Aaron Rodgers' fault. You guys are just being too mean. The media hates Aaron Rodgers, blah, blah, blah. Okay. In that case, I'm going to read the words of a guy who played against him yesterday. Devon Godshaw is a guy who's been with the Patriots several years. He's a veteran defensive lineman. Here was his assessment of Rodgers. Quote, Hall of Fame quarterback. Hate to see him go out that way. He definitely doesn't look the same. Shit, I could run him down now and catch him. He don't look mobile at all. Those are not the words of anybody who's got an agenda against Aaron Rodgers. Whatever. That is a guy who competes against him now twice a year in the AFC East. Listen to that. Aaron Rodgers has yet to throw for 300 yards as a New York Jet. He looks okay at times. There are glimpses, if you squint tightly enough, where you can see a 4-time MVP quarterback. But the rest of the time, he's just a dude. And this is what happens when desperate organizations throw their hands up and don't know how to lead from within. Well, we'll trade for Aaron Rodgers. That'll solve all our problems. So we'll give up some draft capital. Fine. Let's get his buddies to coach. Let's get his buddies to go catch the ball. Let's listen to him. Things aren't perfect with the head coach. Aaron says he had nothing to do with that. He's got a great rapport with Robert Saleh. I don't know if I believe that or not. The point is that they gave Aaron Rodgers the world.
Yep.
And you know what? If you're going to do that to a 40-year-old, you damn well better perform like LeBron James and not like whatever we're watching every Sunday from the New York Jets. Because the longest playoff drought in the NFL is going to continue. It is that simple. I'm not pointing fingers directly at Aaron Rodgers. This is an organizational failure. I'll see you in 2025, but who the hell knows what this team's going to look like?
I don't think you'll see him in 2025. I don't think
Yeah,
you'll
like
see him.
what happens with the New York Jets now? Like, I don't see Rodgers. Maybe he does, but it's just, man, like they shouldn't be like this, right?
Well, yeah,
and
Bobby, here's the messed up thing, Bobby, is that I think they should clean house. I think they should get everybody out. I think they should get this stench out, and they should start from fresh again. But Joe Douglas has put together a good roster. This is what's supposed to be a good roster. I think the offensive line and Tyron Smith, I think that hurts. And, that's going to go up as a, kind of like a little bit of a red flag and a little bit of a, bad. But this is a good roster that I think has been, like Chris Rose said, I think it's been hijacked by Aaron Rodgers and his decisions or his influence. And then they do not have good coaching. They do not have good coaching that should lead what is a very, very good roster to a better record than 2-6.
Well, not only are they 2-6, the Tennessee Titans are the only team that are lower on the rung than the New York Jets in the AFC.
And they barely beat the Titans.
The Jets are the 15th seed right now in the AFC. So let's do this exercise very quickly in the 2 minutes we've got left on the Jets season. Just tell me win or loss. Penik, you'll go first. Bobby, you go next after I read these. Houston on Thursday.
It's a loss.
Loss.
At Arizona.
It's a loss.
Win.
Sunday night at home against the Colts.
They'll win that game.
Oh, Joe Flacco revenge game. I'm gonna go loss.
Home against Seattle.
I think they win that game. I think Seattle offensively is a little in flux.
All right. At Miami.
They'll lose that game.
Loss.
At Jacksonville.
I'll give them a win. Yeah.
Home against the Rams.
Loss.
Loss.
At Buffalo.
Loss.
Loss. Actually, no, win. The win. They play Buffalo good no matter what.
And then home against the Dolphins.
I'll give them a win. They go 1-1 against Dolphins.
Win.
Okay. My point is that ain't good enough for the playoffs.
No.
See you in 2025.
6 wins?
Maybe 7.
Unbelievable.
And guess what? They won
They draft
7
the
games.
QB to learn under Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be a great talking point all offseason.
They went 7-10, I think, each of the last 3 years with Jack Shite at quarterback. And now with a first ballot future Hall of Famer, we're looking at him as a 7-10 team. Ouch. Ouch.
At best.
Penik?
Oh, yeah. I want to talk to you about something that's going to give you a little bit more energy and a little bit more buzz than what we're talking to you about now.
Why don't you talk to us about something, Justin?
Oh, I'll talk to you about something, Bobby Skinner. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy shot should help you feel alert and energized, and each shot is packed with vitamins, nutrients, and about as much caffeine as the leading premium coffee. It contains 0 sugar. You can drink it in seconds, fill it in minutes, and last for hours. Can I tell you something? out of all the ad reads that we do, like those 3 consecutive thoughts, drinking in seconds, filling in minutes, last for hours, it's some of the most pleasing, it's very pleasing to say off your tongue. If you're listening right now, say it with me. Drinking in seconds, filling in minutes, last for hours. You'll be glad you did. 5 Hour Energy shots are portable, convenient, and go with you for that feeling of energy wherever and whenever you need it. So head to 5hourenergy.com, www.5hourenergy.com, and use code JOHNBOY to save 20% on your first order. That's www.5hourenergy.com, and use code JOHNBOY to save 20%. Bobby Skinner and Chris Rose, you will be glad you did.
Be glad you did.
You got that. Lions 52, Titans 14. Maybe the most amazing score we've ever seen because Jared Goff threw for 85 yards. The Lions racked up a whopping 225 total yards. It felt like every drive they were starting inside of the Titans' 25-yard line, so they didn't have very far to go. But they end up mushing Tennessee, improved to 6-1, and certainly feel like the class of the NFC at this point. So, Bobby, who's the next closest team to them, and how close is it?
I don't think it's close, man. Like, maybe the Packers, right? Like, I think there's 2 teams that you can argue for the second best team in the NFC right now that the Vikings have lost Christian Darrisaw. Like, if the Vikings had Christian Darrisaw, I'd still say, hey, they lost on the last second to them. I know it's at home. But without Christian Darrisaw, like, you don't realize how good having a left tackle like that is until he's gone. That's going to be huge for them.
They lost it for the year?
Yeah.
Ugh.
The Packers are, like, they're the team that I have the most confidence in, but they're 6-2 with losses to the Vikings and Eagles. They're 1-2 in games against teams above 500, and Love played bad in that sole win over the Texans. But Love gives you a chance, right? Leads the league in touchdown rate and total interceptions. The other one that I'm starting to get a little more intrigued by is the Eagles. And it's not because I'm in love with them, but Vic Fangio's starting to get that defense rolling. They're 7th in defensive scoring. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. They beat the Packers. They're a Saquon drop away from 1 loss, and that was against the Falcons, who are the 3 seed in the NFC. The running game is number 2 in the NFL. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who will beat you in man coverage, which the Lions like to do. And even, I don't know if they'll get Mailata back, but Fred Johnson, their left tackle, who was this is the reason they're going to lose games guy, he handled Trey Hendrickson after being worried that he'd be abused. But at the end of the day, it's the Lions. Like, I feel so confident that the Lions are going to get there. I think they're probably going to make a trade for Josh Uche in the next couple days. He was a healthy scratch for the Patriots. Like you meant, I mean, they're just they dominate. They've scored 40 plus in 3 of 7 games, 33 points per game. The lowest scoring game they've had is 20 points. Goff is throwing a touchdown 1 of every 4 completions that he gets. They feel like a juggernaut right now.
I think you're right. There's a lot of distance. Green Bay, unfortunately, it sounds like Jordan Love's not going to be healthy this week, right? He left with that strained groin. He dealt with it from the first quarter on, and so we might get the Malik Willis show. He's played very well, but he's not Jordan Love. So Packers-Lions could be not as exciting as we first thought, maybe. To me, the most interesting team to watch, and it's strictly based on their past season performances and nothing that I've seen this year, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
They got to 500 last night by holding on against the Dallas Cowboys. If there's ever been a team that needs like a 3-week bye, not just a 1-week bye that they'll get this week, it's San Francisco because of the health. We believe McCaffrey's going to come back for their Week 10 game against the Buccaneers.
Do we? So is he supposed to come back? I've heard.
That's
I feel
what
like
they're
every
saying.
other week he's out for the season, but then like what's
No, that's what they're saying. And you know what? They'll be able to supplement his carries. I think they're going to have to use him more significantly in the pass game than anything else, particularly with Ayuk out the year and Jennings being a little bit banged up. Defensively, hopefully they get Dre Greenlaw back within the next month. We'll see. But this is a team, I think their mantra could be anywhere, anytime. They don't care who they play and where, as long as they're playing in January. That's the one team that I don't believe about them based on what I've seen this year, but based on their pedigree. Penik?
Yeah, so I put this into 2 categories. I have real challengers, and I have teams that I want to say are real, but they're probably not. Because if they play the Lions, or maybe they don't even get to the stage where they are playing the Lions in the playoffs, like teams that I think that are sexy, but they're probably not. And the two teams that I have as real challengers are the 49ers and the Packers. And it's the Packers from what we've seen this year. And then also what they did in the playoffs last year and how Jordan Love looked. And then the 49ers, kind of like what Chris said, because of their past success, but also Brock Purdy is playing well in spite of everything else, kind of a lot of things around him going wrong. And it's kind of crazy to say that McCaffrey is probably best suited as a third down back right now, when usually it's the opposite. It's like, okay, well, running back's coming back from injuries. Maybe he's your first and second down back, and then you take him off the field for third down. No, I'm with Chris, where we've talked about on the show how McCaffrey is so much more valuable in the passing game than the running game, because I think it's more easier to replace McCaffrey in the running game versus what he can do in the pass game. But I have the Eagles in the category of teams that I want to say are real, but they're probably not. And I think I could be wrong about that, but still, when they get into a postseason setting, I don't believe in Hurts, and I don't believe in the overall talent of that defense to win against like a juggernaut team like the Lions.
Well, it's interesting because we always get to the middle of the season. We're like, yep, we definitely know that. No doubt they're going. And then shit gets turned on its head. And that's the beautiful thing about the NFL season, is that you just never, ever know.
Yeah. So the 49ers, like, I don't want to give up on the 49ers, but I just worry, like, yeah, they might get guys back, but, Debo left the game yesterday. Ayuk is gone for the year. Like, we've seen McCaffrey get injured before, quite a bit in Carolina. When he comes back, is he going to stay healthy? They lost Hargrave earlier in the year. I have no doubt that the 49ers are going to win that division, even though they're in a three-way tie with the Seahawks and Cardinals. The Cardinals would actually be the team in the playoffs. 49ers out right now. So I don't have a doubt that they'll win that division. I just don't know if I can pick them to win 3 playoff games in a row if they're that big. I mean, they got through by the skin of their teeth last year, and they were humming. So I just don't know if I can buy it. But I just think it's the Lions are the class, and the Packers are the team that I think has the best chance to just get through 3 playoff games compared to the rest of them.
Yep. All right, so 30 seconds left. I'll give you. We used to play this game with Tiger Woods when he was at the peak and winning every other golf tournament.
Oh, every part of the interruption was Tiger Woods or the field. I loved it.
Yes. So instead of Tiger and the field, we'll play Lions and the field. Bobby?
Are we talking about just the NFC or the Super Bowl?
Just the NFC.
Lions, easily.
Penik?
Lions. Make a trade for a pass rusher, too.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to do better than Josh Uche. I know that a few years ago he had 11 sacks or whatever, but he doesn't feel like enough. If they upgrade there severely, I would take the Lions. But I can't wait to see who's kind of next in line. We are back at it again a little bit later in the week. I believe Friday, Penik, we're going to release our next episode. Is that accurate?
I believe so. As you see with the length of the show, we're working on some different things. Let us know what you think of the new, little bit shorter format. We're going to go a little bit more topic heavy. We'll probably have power rankings on Wednesday, and then odds are you'll see us on Friday. But if anything changes, keep those notifications on. Boom.
Appreciate it. For Bobby, for Justin Penik, I am Chris Rose. We will see you next time here on Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL.